Among all the leaders that have fronted themselves to vie for the presidential seat come the year 2027, one of them has become Ruto's greatest nightmare. That is the former Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, Chief Justice David Maraga. Now, allow me to diverge deep into a little history that many don't know between President William Ruto and CJ Maraga. Back in the year 2017, when Maraga was the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya and the country was in the general election, then the Uhuru Ruto ticket was the most popular in the country. The elections were done and Raila Amolo Odinga was defeated. He filed a case at the Supreme Court of Kenya challenging the declaration of the presidential result by the then late IEBC chair Wafula Chebukati. After filing the said complaint, the judges sat down with CJ Maraga leading the panel to determine whether there were malpractices in the said election. Now, what happened? We all know that the Huruto team was one team that could have done anything just to remain in power. President William Ruto, then as a deputy president with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta as the president, they were not ready to let go of the presidency. Yet, after the investigations were done, it was determined by Maraga that malpractices were done and elections had been rigged. Let me tell you something. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and William Ruto called a meeting. And in the said meeting, they decided on the amount of money they would offer David Maraga so that he would compromise his ruling in the case of the 2017 general election. And it is believed that David Maraga was to be rewarded with an amount of 5 billion Kenyan shillings. According to the intel we have, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta summoned David Maraga for a meeting, but David Maraga declined the said meeting. After declining the said meeting, the Deputy President William Ruto took the step of visiting David Maraga at his home to offer the said cash that they had decided to give David Maraga so that he would declare that the elections were fair. But David Maraga refused to allow William Ruto to access his compound and also decided that he is not going in any way to give access to William Ruto nor Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta the access to him. So after they realized that no way that David Maraga was going to take a bribe, they waited. And when David Maraga stood to make the ruling on the case of the malpractices in the election of the year 2017, he declared that the election must be repeated. After declaring that, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and William Ruto started their campaign again. They were supposed to campaign for 60 days before the election. So they did that, and Raila Amolo Odinga also started his campaign. What happened is, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta several times together with William Ruto said that David Maraga had subverted the will of the people, that he was supposed to declare Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and William Ruto as the winners of the elections of the year 2017. So they said they would revisit that case. And sure to their words, when they won the election for the second time, David Maraga did not wait for them to come and fire him. He withdrew himself from the seat as the president of the judiciary of Kenya and the president of the Supreme Court of Kenya. So right now, that David Maraga has declared or is seeking allegiance to start his campaign for the year 2027 general election, President William Ruto knows that among all the leaders that affronted themselves to seek the seat of president in the year 2027, he knows that there is no leader with a competent track record than that of David Maraga. And David Maraga has decided now to destroy William Ruto with everything he got. Through his social media pages lately, and more so today, David Maraga took to his official X account to call upon President William Ruto. And I want you to listen to this message because David Maraga knows William Ruto inside out. And he said this: I am deeply concerned at the news that the Rural Urban Private Hospitals Association intends to suspend healthcare services to Kenyans due to the failure of government to remit funds for their services. The failure to remit refunds is unacceptable as the government-run Social Health Authority is responsible for these payments, and Kenyans have been paying into SHA and before that into NHIF. It is wrong and morally unacceptable to subject Kenyans to suffering when they need hospital services and medicines. I imagine that some of these cases need urgent medical attention and cannot wait. Lives are at stake. The government must seriously address the crumbling of healthcare institutions. Our constitution guarantees Kenyans the right to the highest attainable standards of health. For far too long, providing access to healthcare services has been choked by poor policies and corrupt practices in government. We cannot be a people who make 2 steps forward and 5 steps backwards because a few people have found a way to game the industry and enrich themselves. A country with a sick population cannot advance. We must ensure the best healthcare institutions if we are to realize the aspirations on universal healthcare in our constitution. That is David Maraga for you. Now, Maraga has been quiet, and today this made his stand. This cemented his ambitions for the 2027 general election. Now, let me tell you something. As currently we have all been pointing fingers at the judiciary of how incompetent the judiciary has been. If David Maraga was the current Chief Justice, there are certain policies that would have not made it to become rules or laws in this country. And one of them is the housing levy, which Kenyans are being taxed an amount of 1.5% of their salary. Apart from that, we also have the healthcare bill that was passed, the social health authority, which is SHA. They would have not seen the light of the day. Apart from that, also the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, which was a cooked-up case by the executive together with parliament because they wanted to punish Rigathi Gachagua, would not have made it to where it did. Now, what does this tell you? This man has now announced his move. It's upon Kenyans now to make the decision of whether they are going to choose the rightful track record or they are going to follow people who means nothing but enriching themselves once they get in office. Imagine David Maraga turned down a bribe of 5 billion Kenyan shillings from the Ruto regime. I leave it there. It's upon you to make the decision. Tell me what you think about this man. I mean, if I was to vote today, my vote would have been casted on the box of this man, former Chief Justice David Maraga. Leave your comment on the comment section. See you in our next video. This is the Kenyan Daily Report.